Imagine yourself walking down a dark corridor, enveloped in silence, with nothing but the echo of your hesitant footsteps. Every dust particle seems to watch your every move. Then, a soft breeze brushes past you, sending a shiver through your body, and you hear a faint whisper echoing through the air. Your steps quicken, leaving behind your shadow as your mind spirals with terrifying visions. Suddenly, you catch a glimpse of a figure lurking in the darkness, its skin pale as the moon, and its eyes glowing like burning embers. You freeze in place, every hair standing on end, your heart racing, and your breath becoming shallow. Is what you're seeing real, or is your fear playing tricks on you? You think of fleeing, but deep down, you know there's no use. You're trapped in this dark corridor, with no way out but forward. At this moment, you're left with two choices. Either gather all your strength, turn around, and leave that figure behind, running as fast as you can without looking back until you find an exit, or collide with something that stops you. Or you decide to face that figure head-on, using anything you can find as a weapon, your bag, your shoes, or even a stone from the ground. You fight with every ounce of strength you have, hoping to push that figure away and make your escape. And whether you choose to flee from the ghost or face it, your fate remains the same. Your end. Running from a ghost that haunts you means you'll forever be a prisoner to your fear, living each day with its shadow chasing you, leaving you with endless nightmares. But if you choose to confront it, there's no guarantee of survival. You might win and overcome the ghost, or you might lose and become another lost soul wandering this world. In either case, you'll endure an unforgettable, terrifying experience, one that will change your life forever. But remember, before you decide, courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the ability to control it. Fear doesn't make you weak. So, do you have enough courage to face your fears? Or will you choose to run and live in constant terror? The choice is yours. But whatever you decide, know that you might regret it later. During World War I, soldiers often guarded the dangerous no-man's land, the area between the opposing trenches, especially during intense battles. Amid the chaos, a lieutenant named Smith led a patrol alongside some of his men, moving from one location to another. The group was exhausted, but they remained alert, listening to the distant sounds of shelling. Smith chose to walk at the rear of the group, and soon noticed that one of the soldiers, Private Rex, was falling behind. Rex's pace grew slower and slower, until Smith easily caught up to him. The lieutenant asked Rex if he was feeling cold or perhaps sick. Rex replied no to both. Smith asked a third time, "Are you hungry?" Rex finally answered, "A little." Smith had nothing to offer but a few biscuits made with powdered milk. As Rex took the biscuits from him, Smith noticed something strange. Rex's hands were ice cold. Before Smith could give it much thought, his attention was drawn back to the other soldiers, who needed further instructions to move forward. When Smith returned to where Rex had been walking, the soldier was gone. Rex had vanished without a trace. Smith immediately stopped the patrol and retraced his steps, looking for Rex. But there was no sign of him anywhere. Lieutenant Smith then ordered a junior officer to begin searching for the missing soldier before they could continue on their journey. The young officer gave Smith a confused look before telling him something that would shake him to the core. Private Rex had been killed in battle and buried 3 days ago. Smith, in shock, insisted he had spoken to Rex not even an hour before. As the truth of the situation became clearer, all the lieutenant could manage to say was, "Private Rex wanted to lift the fear of death from our hearts. I thank him for that. He lives on in our memories, even though he's gone. The ghost of Private Rex disappeared without a trace, leaving behind nothing but mysterious stories and unanswered questions in the minds of those who encountered him. Was duty calling him from the afterlife? Had he returned to the realm of spirits to find his eternal peace? Or did he choose another path to tell his tragic tale? The answer remains a mystery, leaving room for imagination to fill the gaps and adding a layer of intrigue and suspense to the story. The Melon Heads, a tale of a watermelon that maybe escaped a vendor and merged with a human body. New England is home to many lost souls and strange entities. However, only a few people in the southwestern part of Connecticut have ever had an encounter with the feared Melon Heads. There are two roads famously linked to these legendary creatures: Zion Hill Road in Milford and Sawmill City Road in Shelton. But who or what are these Melon Head beings? The legend describes them as disfigured humans, living deep in the countryside for at least a century. They remain hidden during the day, only emerging at night to hunt for food. And when they do, their diet consists of wild animals, stray cats, and even teenagers. The stories of Melon Heads began surfacing in Connecticut right after the end of World War II. Rumor has it that they descend from a family that was exiled to the wilderness after being accused of practicing witchcraft. Left with no choice, the family succumbed to inbreeding, ultimately giving rise to the mysterious Melon Head creatures. Another theory suggests that this same family escaped from a mental institution in Newtown, a city in Fairfield County, Connecticut. According to this version, they were mental patients who fled a fire that broke out in the asylum. Over time, they supposedly became cannibals, which caused their heads to swell and become deformed. In the 1980s, a group of high school girls decided to brave the darkness in search of the Melon Heads. They parked their car on the famous Velvet Street in Trumbull, Connecticut, and left the headlights on. But they hadn't walked more than a few hundred feet when they heard a distinct sound: the car doors slamming shut behind them. They didn't have time to turn around before the car started moving towards them. At that moment, the girls saw small figures inside, with large heads and glowing orange eyes. Overcome with terror, they ran for their lives. And according to legend, the Melon Head family kept the car and are still driving it to this day. The Cabbagetown Tunnel Beast, just a monster or a black hole. Long before Toronto's waterways were replaced by city streets, the Algonquin tribes in the area reported sightings of furry monsters in the water or within cavities carved into the rocks. They believed that if these creatures spotted them, their boats would be redirected by the currents created by the beings. According to Algonquin legends, these creatures were made from tree bark and had no noses. When the city of Toronto was eventually built over the waterways, the monsters disappeared. In 1978, 51-year-old Ernest was tending to a group of kittens one August morning. While watching the kittens eat, Ernest realized one was missing. After searching his apartment in Cabbagetown thoroughly, he began to look outside the building. As he wandered around calling for the cat, he stumbled upon the mouth of a dark tunnel. Fearing the cat might have ventured inside, Ernest decided to enter the tunnel. He hadn't gone far when he encountered a massive creature. According to Ernest, the beast was about 1 meter tall, thin-bodied, with dirty fur and huge teeth. The monster looked at him with glowing red eyes and hissed, "Go away." Ernest didn't need to be told twice. This creature was one that must be obeyed on the first command. He immediately turned and fled. He only shared his experience with a few family members and friends. The story eventually reached the media, and a journalist from the Toronto Sun approached Ernest. Ernest agreed to answer questions about his experience, but only if his last name was removed from the article. Ernest's wife confirmed to the journalist that her husband had been terrified when he returned home. A few months later, the newspaper team, along with Ernest, decided to venture into the tunnel. Like before, Ernest took only a few steps before discovering the remains of a small cat. Ernest, distressed, recalled the strange and terrifying noises he had heard when he first entered the tunnel. It was likely the sound of his small cat being killed by the beast. Several theories surround the Cabbagetown beast. Some believe the creature was real and escaped to a UFO base beneath Lake Ontario, while others think it is an alien wandering through Toronto's tunnels. Some even suggest the creature is linked to the legendary chupacabra, a goat-sucking beast that feeds on livestock blood. In any case, the legend of the Cabbagetown beast remains shrouded in mystery. Patient number 9. Don't move or you'll die. This tale is about a Vietnamese man who traveled abroad. Upon returning, he began to experience a persistent ringing in his ears, which was eventually diagnosed by a doctor as tinnitus. The doctor prescribed medication, but the ringing did not stop and progressively worsened. The man returned to the doctor a few weeks later, when the situation became unbearable. The doctor informed the man that his condition was so advanced that no further treatment could be given, and that he would eventually lose his hearing. Enraged, the man attacked the doctor. When the doctor's lifeless body hit the ground, the man fled. He was soon captured and sent to a psychiatric hospital instead of prison. His violent outbursts continued along with his hearing loss, and he became completely deaf. He was allowed outside for only 1 hour each day due to his violent tendencies. One day, when the hospital staff opened his room, he did not come out, knowing he was deaf. The staff entered the room to inform him that it was time for his hour of free time, only to be shocked by the sight of the man covered in blood with vacant eyes. As one staff member turned to flee the room in terror, the madman somehow grabbed him and tore him apart. The other staff members, frozen in place, went unnoticed by the man. He then exited the room, guiding himself by feeling the walls as he had become blind. Eventually, he reached the exit and disappeared into the forest. It is said that the man, known as patient number 9 from the hospital, still roams the forest in search of new victims. The only way to escape if you encounter him is to remain completely still and wait for him to leave, as you're dealing with someone who despises even the ticking of a clock. In conclusion, after our journey through these terrifying, ghostly realms, we reached the end that I didn't quite want to come to. Imagine, dear listener, if all these legends were true and ghosts really did live among us. What if one day you opened your door and found the ghost of Tutankhamun asking for a cup of tea, or encountered a pharaoh's mummy wandering the streets searching for a cell phone? Or perhaps you hear your doorbell ring, and upon opening it, find Shakespeare's ghost looking for inspiration for his next play. Imagine reaching out to shake hands with a ghost, only to find it cold as ice. Or being astonished when you see a ghost dressed in modern attire, speaking the language of the new generation. But don't worry, most ghosts, according to legends, are benign and don't wish to harm the living. They might even become friends or share their ancient wisdom and skills. Perhaps an old doctor's ghost could cure you of a stubborn illness, or a ghostly musician could fill your home with beautiful melodies, or a wise ghost could offer valuable life advice. In the world of ghosts, anything is possible, and the line between fear and benefit becomes blurred. So, what do you think, dear listener? Would you like to encounter a ghost someday? If you enjoyed our dive into the world of mystery and horror, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell to be the first to catch our new episodes. Share the video with your friends and leave a comment with your thoughts on the stories we explored today. Thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned for more thrilling tales. P.S. Don't forget to keep a cold glass of water by your bedside. There might be a thirsty ghost nearby looking for a drink.